Ethan Brooks had just set 2 plates of spaghetti on the kitchen counter when the knock came. Not a light tap, but a steady, almost hesitant sound, like whoever was out there wasn't sure they should be. Max, his 9-year-old, looked up from building a Lego tower on the coffee table. "Dad, are we expecting someone?" Ethan shook his head. Friday nights were their quiet nights. No plans, no guests, just pasta cartoons, and a chance to breathe after a long week. He wiped his hands on a dish towel, walked to the front door and opened it. A woman stood there under the soft porch light, her hair damp from the light drizzle outside. Brown waves framed a face that was pale with exhaustion, and when she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "My kids are in the car," she said. "They haven't eaten." Ethan's chest tightened. It wasn't the words themselves, but the way she carried them, like she'd had to say this before and had learned to expect judgment in return. He glanced past her, down the driveway. A small sedan sat idling, headlights dimmed, 2 shapes moving in the back seat. "Come in," Ethan said without thinking. "Bring them in. It's warm in here." She hesitated. "I don't want to intrude." "You're not," he cut in gently. "No one should be sitting in a car hungry." A few minutes later, she stepped inside with 2 kids, a boy around 7 clutching a plastic dinosaur, and a little girl, maybe 5, holding a worn-out stuffed bunny like it was the only safe thing in her world. Max slid over on the couch to make room, offering them the spot without a word. The woman, Mara, as she introduced herself, kept standing near the edge of the room, hands clasped, as if ready to leave at any second. Ethan remembered that posture. He had worn it himself years ago, walking into places where he didn't feel like he belonged. "Spaghetti's almost ready," he said, moving toward the kitchen. "Hope you like garlic bread." Mara smiled just a little. "They'll eat anything warm." As he ladled sauce onto plates, Ethan told himself this was just dinner, just a bit of kindness. But deep down he already knew. This night was going to change more than just their hunger. The smell of garlic bread filled the kitchen, warm and comforting, the kind of smell that made a house feel like a home. Ethan set the plates down on the table, motioning for Mara and the kids to sit. Max was already telling Jamie, the boy with the dinosaur, about the secret to making the world's tallest Lego tower, while Lily, the little one, stayed quiet, her eyes darting around the room like she was still deciding if it was safe to be here. Mara sat at the very edge of her chair, shoulders slightly hunched, like she was ready to stand and leave at the first wrong word. Ethan noticed the way her fingers twisted the hem of her sleeve, a small nervous habit. "Max," Ethan said, "how about you grab the extra napkins from the counter?" His son hopped up, happy to help, and Ethan used the moment to lean toward Mara. "You can relax here. No rush, no expectations." She gave a short nod but didn't meet his eyes. It's been a long week. Ethan didn't push. He remembered how it felt when people asked too many questions too soon. Instead, he told a story about the time Max tried to make pancakes by himself at 7 in the morning and nearly glued the frying pan to the stove. Jamie laughed. Even Lily cracked a smile, just for a second. By the time dinner was over, there were crumbs on the table and a faint sense of ease in the air. Max and Jamie moved to the living room floor, setting up Lego battle stations. Lily curled up in the corner of the couch, clutching her bunny, watching cartoons with wide, tired eyes. Mara stayed at the table with Ethan, tracing the rim of her glass of water. "I almost didn't knock," she said quietly. "I was parked outside for 5 minutes, telling myself to just drive away." Ethan looked at her. "What changed your mind?" She hesitated, then said something about the porch light. It felt safe. He smiled, a slow, genuine one. "Good, because everyone deserves a safe place to land." For a moment, the kitchen was quiet, except for the low hum of the refrigerator and the sound of the kids laughing in the next room. It should have felt ordinary, but to Ethan, it didn't. He could tell this night was the beginning of something neither of them had planned for. Sunday afternoon came with a pale spring sky and just enough warmth to tempt them outside. Ethan suggested the park. Nothing big, just a place for the boys to run and Lily to swing. Mara hesitated, her gaze drifting toward the street, like she was checking for something she didn't want to see. After a pause, she nodded. They rode in Ethan's old pickup, Max and Jamie laughing in the back seat about Lego earthquakes, Lily sitting in the middle, bunny tucked under her arm. At the park, the air smelled faintly of fresh mulch and grilled hot dogs from a nearby food stand. The boys tore off toward the jungle gym. Lily stayed close to Mara, her small hand wrapped around her mother's fingers. Ethan noticed when Mara slowed. Her eyes were locked on a dark-coloured car parked at the far end of the lot, angled toward the playground. The windows were tinted too dark to see through, but the shape of the driver's head didn't change, not even when a breeze sent dust swirling across the hood. "You good?" Ethan asked quietly. Her voice was low. "It's probably nothing, but cars like that have shown up before." They stayed another half hour, long enough for Lily to try the swings and laugh once, just once, without looking over her shoulder. But when they left, Ethan spotted the same car pulling out 2 spaces behind them. It stayed in his mirror until the last turn onto his street, where it finally disappeared. Back home, the kids ran inside, talking over each other about who was fastest. Mara followed slower, her eyes scanning the street one more time before stepping through the door. Ethan told himself it could have been coincidence, but deep down he knew better. Some instincts aren't wrong. 2 days later, the weather turned grey and restless, the kind of afternoon that made you want to stay inside. The kids had scattered into the living room, a pile of Lego bricks spread like colourful gravel across the rug. Ethan was in the kitchen rinsing coffee mugs when he heard Jamie call out, "Lily, your game's loading!" He stepped into the doorway and saw them huddled over an old tablet. It was scuffed on the edges, the kind of device that had clearly been dropped more than once. Lily was holding it like a prized possession. "That thing still works?" Ethan asked with a small smile. Mara looked up from folding laundry on the couch. "It's her old iPad. I let her bring it when we left, just so she'd have something familiar." Ethan started to walk away, then paused. Something on the screen caught his eye. A small arrow icon blinking in the corner. It wasn't part of the game. He knelt down beside the kids. "Mind if I see this for a second?" he asked gently. Lily handed it over without a word. Ethan tapped the icon, and a location sharing app opened. At the top was an email address he didn't recognise, logging every place the iPad had been in the last month, every grocery store, every park, every stop. Mara's voice came from behind him, already tight. "What is that?" Ethan turned the screen toward her. "Someone's tracking this, and I don't think it's by accident." She froze, her hands still clutching a folded t-shirt. Her eyes moved from the screen to his face, and for a moment she didn't say anything, then quietly, "It's him." Ethan didn't need to ask who. "That's his email," she said. "Ryan set it up when Lily got the tablet, said it was so he could add games for her. I forgot it was even there." She pressed her fingers to her temple, like trying to hold back a headache. "He's been watching us, everywhere we go." The air in the room felt heavier. Ethan set the iPad on the counter like it was something dangerous. Max and Jamie had gone back to their Lego, oblivious, but he could feel Mara's breathing quicken. "Hey," he said softly, stepping closer. "This doesn't leave here. We'll figure out what to do next." She nodded, but her eyes still held the hollow look of someone who had just realised the walls around them weren't as solid as they thought. That night, the rain came steady against the windows, a quiet percussion that filled the spaces between words. Ethan sat at the kitchen table with Mara, the old iPad lying in the middle like evidence from a crime scene. The kids had finally fallen asleep. Max sprawled in his bed, Jamie curled up under a blanket on the couch, Lily with her bunny tucked under her chin. Mara wrapped her hands around a mug of tea she hadn't touched. "I hate that he's still in my head," she said softly. "Even when he's not here, it feels like he is." Ethan leaned back in his chair, watching her for a moment. "You're not going back to your apartment." She looked up. "I can't just—" "You can," he interrupted gently. "Stay here, as long as you need. We've got a guest room, and the kids already get along. It makes sense." Her brow furrowed, torn between relief and guilt. "I don't want to disrupt your life, Ethan." He gave a faint smile. "Mara, my life's been nothing but me and Max for years. If anything, this feels right." She didn't answer, but the tension in her shoulders eased just enough to notice. The next day, Ethan came home from work with 2 large pizzas and a bag of marshmallows. By evening, the house smelled like melted cheese, and the kitchen echoed with the clatter of plates and bursts of laughter. Max showed Jamie how to build a Lego catapult, and Lily sat on Ethan's lap while he helped her draw a bunny with pink ears. For a little while, the storm outside didn't matter. There was warmth here, and it wasn't just from the oven. Later, when the kids were brushing their teeth, Mara leaned against the doorway watching them. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "It's been months since I've seen them laugh like that." Ethan glanced at her. "That's how it should be, every day." She smiled, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. A reminder that the peace they felt tonight was fragile. And Ethan knew it wouldn't last forever. It was late Saturday afternoon, the kind of cloudy day where the air felt heavy, but the rain never quite came. Ethan had just finished tightening the hinges on the back gate when he heard a car pull up out front, not the quick whoosh of someone passing by, but the slow roll of tyres coming to a stop. He stepped through the side yard and saw him, a tall man leaning against the hood of a dark-coloured car parked halfway into the driveway. He wore a leather jacket, sunglasses even in the dull light, and a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. "You must be Ethan," the man said, his tone casual but sharp underneath. "I'm Ryan. I'm here for my kids." Ethan kept his voice steady. "They're not yours to just come take. There's a process for that, and you know it." Ryan pushed off the hood and took a slow step forward. "You think you're the hero here? Some guy with a toolbox playing house with someone else's family?" He gave a short laugh, low and cold. "You've known her what, a few weeks, and now you're calling the shots?" Before Ethan could answer, the front door opened and Mara stepped out, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. "You haven't seen them in months, Ryan. You missed your court date. You don't get to show up unannounced and scare them." Ryan's smirk faltered just for a second. "This place isn't exactly safe, Mara. Small house, old truck, single dad. Pathetic, really. You can do better." Ethan took a step forward, closing the space between them. His voice was quiet, but there was steel in it. "Get off my property." Ryan's jaw tightened. He looked from Ethan to Mara, then back again. "I'll be back, and when I am, this little setup you've got, it's over." He got into his car, the tyres spitting gravel as he pulled away. Mara exhaled, her arms dropping to her sides. "He's not going to stop," she said almost to herself. Ethan glanced towards the house, where he could see Max and Jamie watching from the window, their faces pressed to the glass. "Then we make sure he can't hurt you, not here, not anywhere." And though his words were calm, Ethan knew in his gut the line had just been drawn, and crossing it would come with a cost. Sunday morning light spilled through the blinds, soft and gold. The kids were building a Lego city in the living room, the low murmur of their voices mixing with the clink of plastic bricks. Mara sat at the kitchen table, a sweatshirt loose over her shoulders, staring at her phone like it was holding her hostage. Ethan set a mug of coffee in front of her. "You didn't sleep." She shook her head. "Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear his voice." "Ethan, I don't just want to get away from him. I want proof, enough to end this for good." He nodded. "Then we start now." After breakfast, he called Mason, an old friend from a warehouse job years ago, now working in cybersecurity. Mason agreed to meet in person, so Ethan loaded the iPad into his truck and drove to a coffee shop on the edge of town. Mason, in a faded hoodie and baseball cap, scrolled through the tablet with quick, sure hands. "You've got location logs going back months," he said quietly, "all tied to an account in his name, and there's more." He turned the screen so Ethan could see drafts of unsent emails, detailed notes about where Mara had been, who she was with, what time she came and went. Back at the house, Ethan slid the printed files across the table to Mara. She read the first page, then pushed it away like it was burning her fingers. "This is worse than I thought." "Which is why we're not sitting still anymore," Ethan said. "We're going to use this." She stared at him for a moment, her eyes shining but steady. "I've been looking over my shoulder for so long. I don't know what it feels like not to." He gave a small, reassuring smile. "You will." The hearing came faster than anyone expected. One Thursday morning, Mara got the call. Ryan had filed for emergency custody, claiming the kids were living in an unstable environment with a man they barely knew. The date was set for the following week. No time to prepare, no time to breathe. Ethan drove her to the county courthouse, his hands steady on the wheel even though his chest felt tight. Mara sat in the passenger seat, dressed in a simple navy blouse and black slacks, her hair pulled back. She kept twisting her wedding band finger out of habit, even though the ring had been gone for years. Inside the courtroom, Ryan was already seated with 2 attorneys at his side. His suit was sharp, his expression carefully arranged into concern. To anyone who didn't know better, he looked like a devoted father just trying to do the right thing. When Mara took the stand, Ryan's lawyer went to work. He asked about her job, her income, her decision to stay at Ethan's house. Each question was a hook designed to pull her into a trap. "So," the lawyer said, leaning on the podium, "you moved your children into the home of a man you met. How long ago?" Mara's voice was steady at first. "About a month." "A month," the lawyer repeated, glancing at the judge. "And in that month, you've allowed him to be alone with your children, correct?" "Yes," she said. "Isn't it possible you don't really know who he is?" Ethan watched from the table, jaw tightening. Mara's voice started to shake under the weight of questions that had nothing to do with the truth and everything to do with breaking her. When it was his turn, he walked to the witness stand, took the oath, and looked directly at the judge. "Your Honour, I've known Mara for a short time, that's true. But I've known fear a lot longer. I know the look in a child's eyes when they finally feel safe. I've seen it in my own son, and I've seen it in hers since they came to my home." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, you'll find records from a cybersecurity analyst confirming Ryan tracked Mara's movements through her daughter's tablet without consent. You'll also see messages saved in his account, messages that were never sent but describe where she went, who she was with, and what he planned to do about it. There are also statements from a children's therapist noting signs of emotional trauma linked directly to their father's behaviour. The judge opened the folder, flipping through the pages. Across the aisle, Ryan's confident posture began to sag. "This isn't about a custody dispute," Ethan continued. "It's about control, and it needs to stop before it does lasting harm." For a moment, the room was so quiet Ethan could hear the hum of the ceiling vent. The judge closed the folder, her face unreadable. "I've heard enough for today." As they stepped down from the stand, Mara glanced at Ethan. Her eyes were glassy, but there was something else there too, the faint spark of hope. The judge returned to the bench after what felt like the longest recess of their lives. Mara sat beside Ethan at the wooden table, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. Ryan leaned back in his chair across the aisle, one leg crossed over the other, trying to wear the same smug expression he'd walked in with that morning, but it didn't sit as easily on his face now. The judge's voice was calm, steady. "After reviewing the evidence and hearing both testimonies, the court finds sufficient cause to grant temporary sole custody to the mother, along with a full restraining order against the father until further review. An investigation into his conduct will begin immediately." The words hung in the air for a moment before they sank in. Ryan's jaw tightened, his attorneys shuffling papers without meeting his eyes. Mara's breath left her in a sharp exhale she hadn't realised she'd been holding. Outside the courthouse, the cold air hit them like a rush of freedom. Mara stopped on the wide stone steps, the sound of traffic below mixing with the distant hum of city life. Then she turned and, without a word, wrapped her arms around Ethan. He felt her shoulders shake against him, not from fear this time, but from relief. Max came running up from where he'd been waiting with a friend of Ethan's, Jamie, close behind. Lily lagged for a moment before breaking into a run and wrapping her tiny arms around her mother's leg. Mara bent down to hug them both, kissing the tops of their heads. Ethan stood a step back, watching the way her face softened as she held them. It wasn't victory in the way people imagine it. No cheering, no celebration, just a quiet reclaiming of safety. And in that quiet, he knew this was worth every sleepless night, every risk. When they finally walked to the truck, Mara glanced at him with a small, tired smile. "I don't think I've said it enough, but thank you for everything. Ethan shook his head. "You don't have to thank me. Just live your life without looking over your shoulder. That's thanks enough." They drove home in silence, but it wasn't an uncomfortable silence. It was the kind you get when words aren't needed because everyone knows what the other is feeling. 3 months later, the house felt lived in, not just by furniture, but by laughter. It was in Max and Jamie's footsteps pounding down the hall, in Lily's giggles from the backyard swing, in the hum of Mara's voice drifting from the kitchen while she worked on tomorrow's bakery order. She'd built a new routine: early mornings at the bakery, afternoons with the kids, evenings that didn't feel like she was counting down to trouble. The restraining order still stood. Ryan had kept his distance. And for the first time in years, Mara's life didn't feel like it was balanced on the edge of something sharp. That evening, Ethan was grilling burgers on the back porch while the kids roasted marshmallows over the fire pit. The air smelled of wood smoke and summer. Mara stepped out, holding a folded piece of construction paper. "They wanted me to give this to you," she said, handing it over. Inside was a drawing of 4 stick figures, one with spiky brown hair, one with long brown waves, 2 smaller ones in between. Above them, written in uneven letters, "Thank you for our safe place." Ethan looked at it for a long moment, then at Mara. She smiled softly. "You didn't just give us a roof, you gave us space to breathe." He set the card on the porch railing, meeting her eyes. "Promise me you'll never settle for less than this again." She nodded, and in the fading light he could see it. The ease in her shoulders, the steady calm in her gaze, the kind of peace you fight for and guard like treasure. In the yard, Max, Jamie and Lily laughed together around the fire. It wasn't the sound of fear fading. It was joy, plain and simple, and it belonged here now. Lesson from the story: when someone tries to control and take away your peace, don't suffer in silence. Seek help, gather proof, and fight to protect yourself and the people you love. Thank you for watching until this very moment. I'm truly grateful for it. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you again soon, right here on Rain Inside.